It's the All Birdies No Bogeys Podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro. I'm your host, Brian Earhart. I am back in the United States after a 6-week stretch in Europe and China. I got sick immediately after coming home. I am now over said sickness. I have passed it on to my wife. There you go. Welcome, Lindsay. My co-host, Nate Perkins, joins me in Sisters, Oregon, but you're about to come over to your boy's house and call our first show of the season. Idlewild's coming up. So many good things on the horizon. Nate, we just had Ledgestone happen. Quite a few tournaments in Europe just happened as well. How you feeling?
Feeling great, Brian. I feel the whole travel and sickness saga. You know, it feels like every time I go on a big, journey to Europe, whether it's going there or coming back, it's like just like the stress of like the overnight, you lose sleep and your immunity just drops, man. So I'm sorry to hear that you got sick, and sad that Lindsay caught the end of that. She's like welcoming you home, and then she gets sick from it. That's sad, man.
It's how it goes. My body got so stressed. It was like a 30-hour saga getting back from China.
What was that plane ride like? 15 hours? What was that like?
Well, no, they oversold my flight. So I went from Chengdu to Shanghai. It was like 3.5 hours. I get there. I have to check my bags because I'm switching airlines to American. I get up there. I go to the gate to check my bag, and American told me that they oversold my flight. Flight that had been purchased months ago, and they said, "Oh, we sold too many seats. Oops, you don't get to come on the flight now." And I'm sitting there like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I talked to someone from American Airlines, and essentially they rebooked me for like a flight 7 hours later that's going back to Munich, and then back from Munich to Charlotte. It was going to be like 24 hours after I was supposed to get home, but they also gave me a flight voucher for a future flight. How nice, American Airlines. So nice of you. But yeah, crazy chaos. First
tough.
flight was 13 hours. I slept the whole time. Second one was probably the most miserable flight I've ever had.
Wait a second. You slept the whole time on the 13-hour flight? So what's your trick? Like do you have like the pillow or the neck pillow, or how are you getting 13 hours, dude? That's awesome.
I upgraded to Economy Plus, and it gave me a much better seat. And I just bit the bullet and upgraded my seat and slept that way. And exhaustion does quite a bit for you. And then I get off that one. I wait 7 hours to get on my flight back from Munich to Charlotte. And that one was like the hardest flight of my life. It was like 9 hours, but my headphones, my noise canceling headphones died. And I had battling screaming babies. It was a duel between two bratty kids. And one of them, no excuse. He was like 3 years old. Still young, but the other one was a newborn. So whenever that little kid would scream, the newborn would hear it, get annoyed, and start screaming. So my body halfway through that flight flipped the switch, and I was like, yep, I just got a fever. I'm sick. And then I got home, and I had to just sleep it out. But anyway, Nate, we're back.
Wow.
And it's always an adventure going out there. But we have to say a couple things about China. Our producer, Tosi, got treated to a few extra days after the World Games in Shanghai. Wonderful man named Daniel, who is a mover and shaker in the Chinese disc golf community, showed him all around his hometown. He showed him some disc golf courses. And we also got some news that the course in China that was used for the World Games is now a permanent disc golf course right in the middle of Chengdu, 21 million person city. So
that's
they just got
unreal.
Disc golf course. Yep.
So is Daniel
about that.
And what was Daniel's disc golf company? Is that Leon? Lian? That's rad.
Yep.
Very cool. I can't wait to get over there. You guys planted the seed. The World Games planted the seed. We got 1.5 billion people to potentially introduce this sport of disc golf to. So can't wait to visit there.
Well, Nate, back over in the States, some players like Gannon and Missy literally had 1 day to practice, and then they start an Elite Plus 4-round event. Northwood's black, Eureka temp. Talk to us. You watched all weekend. I watched all weekend. What did you pull away?
Yeah, I did. And, Ledgestone is a tournament that I've played. The first Ledgestone was my first year on tour, 2016. And so I've really seen the evolution of both of these courses. Really, Eureka Temp hasn't changed in years, right? Maybe the tiniest little changes, but 2016 it was still the stroke and distance. If you remember
Mhm.
that, like if you went OB on like on 5 or on 6, like or on those back holes 9 and 10, the bridge hole, like you just re-threw from your last spot. So I remember a battle between Johnny McRae and Simon Lazat, and Johnny McRae is just like throwing over and over again from the same spot, I think on 6. But so anyhow, this has been a tournament that people love it and they hate it, right? Ledgestone is one of those places they're like, are we really going to Peoria again? But at the same time, this has always been the tournament, one of the biggest tournaments of the year, one of the biggest payouts of the year. It used to be like the only tournament that you were, guaranteed that 4-digit paycheck. I remember when Nate Heinel was paying out $1,000 to like 25th place. Like it was like just way ahead of its time back in 2016, 2017. And then, the evolution of Northwood Gold, excuse me, into one of the more kind of coveted disc golf courses in the world, right? Kind of the the pinnacle of a difficult wooded track. And so for me, Ledgestone isn't my favorite place to visit. Peoria is not my favorite place in the world, but it does provide some of the most entertaining disc golf in the world because while spectators can't really follow greats at Northwood, the cameras are giving you some of the best views that you can get. So honestly, if I'm trying to watch the tournament unfold at Northwood, like the Disc Golf Network or Jomez is like the place to watch it, right? Because even if you're watching in person, it's hard to really like get the full scope of what's happening in the tournament from in person. So I had a great time watching at home, great time watching both divisions play Northwood. FPO plays a little bit shorter of a layout, but it's still brutal. Round 1, Rebecca Cox, 6 under. Kat Murch, Owen Scoggins, Emily Weatherman rounded out the lead card. Great to see her play some good golf. It's been some time. Did you see, though, Brian, Addison Woodard by chance? Unreal. Unreal power. What did you see from her this week?
Well, I saw someone from Illinois representing. That makes me happy. So, first off, huge shout out to Addison Woodard. You got your time in the spotlight and threw a couple of really high level looking shots. And I don't know, in Illinois, we have great players, but it's not like Texas, where in every single town there's someone who could potentially go out there on tour and do something. Illinois, you have like Gavin Rathbun, my brother. Jonathan Borzik is another really solid, underrated player that's starting to come along. But FPO, it felt like we were waiting for that one player. Lexi Marks is one that's popped off in Des Moines in the past. She's, I believe, a Delwood local. But then we have Addison come along and, yeah, show off her stuff. So big shout out.
Yeah, 988 rated first round. She's rated 927. 161,000 is the PDGA number. And the first thing I saw when I turned on Disc Golf Network on Thursday was a replay of her birdieing hole 1 at Northwood, 455 feet. And then she goes on to birdie it again. Unfathomable to birdie that hole twice. Really cool to see, a player like that. And then another big storyline before we obviously get into the winners golf, but Rebecca Dawn, the young Canadian, I mean,
Yep.
was in this tournament going into the final round. She was 2 back. She shot 9 under at sunset. She shoots 6 at sunset day 2, 9 day 3. And what'd she shoot? Day 1, she shot an even at Northwood Black, and that included a quadruple. A double on 12, and then a double on 18 to finish. And then in the finals, she was in it until the end, but ends up finding some trouble. 3 over through 11 through 13 kind of took her out of it. But really special to see another player come up from the ranks, and Canada is producing. She ended up finishing in 4th place, three off the lead, beating players like Missy Gannon. It's incredible. She beats Holland Hanley. She beats Ella Hansen. It's like it's incredible. And she's young. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more from Rebecca Dawn from Westport, Ontario.
Well, this continues to make me happy. We're seeing young talent in FPO start to grow, and they have the skeleton, not like physical skeleton, but like the framework
Yeah.
of what it takes to be a good player, and not just a good player, but a great player. So we're looking at the players over in Europe that we were kind of excited about. We got Julia Forsch, 13 years old from Sweden. We got Lehtomäki from Finland, almost winning a world title at age 15. Ida Milianesa from Norway, age, I believe, 17. And they all have the framework to be great. Not just, yes, I can eject the disc forward and get some distance. They're throwing it there with intention. They have scramble shots. Their putting strokes are very solid, firm putts. Kristina Yursakova from Czech Republic, 14 years old, that I saw at the World Games, another player that had a really solid putting stroke, good short game, good touch, and obviously the great power. Rebecca Dawn fits right into that. So FPO in a good spot. Next generation starting to come up and test their stuff. Cadence Burge, we're not even talking about her because we've talked enough about the chainsaw. She's already won a Disc Golf Pro Tour event. So we're in good hands. And actually, it was nice to see a player like Don Monduhano, who obviously won the tournament, come up and have that opportunity to play for the win, missing all of the European players, essentially. Finnish Nationals was happening. There were other national championships happening in Europe that we could talk briefly about. But this gives an opportunity for players to come up and play for that win and come down the stretch. And we saw some different names rise up. But Nate, let's zoom in on the action. Val Monduhano wins the tournament. Her first win since 2023. Had that ankle injury, got the win, I believe, at Idlewild after a 3-win season in 2022. This was big for her. She's got a really wonderful way of moving the disc. She's a very touch-oriented player. She's very methodical. Wonderful standstill, as we're seeing here on the screen. What do you pick up from how she played this week?
Well, these are great looks right here as she throws that standstill on 3. There's not a lot of players that go with that full swing approach from short distance. I actually don't know how Val is able to control the speed of her release on a lot of these shots. Like, you'll see players, they'll go to that standstill and they're kind of open their hips up and they'll do like a little quarter swing or a little half swing. And that's the way that they control the speed. I've always been so impressed by Valerie. She does a full swing with the putter, and somehow, somewhere in the swing, just slows it down at the last second, and she releases the putter nose up like 18 miles per hour and controls the full flight of it. It's always been impressive to me. And I actually saw the rise of the Monduhano sisters because I kind of cut my teeth down in Austin, Texas, and they were down in San Antonio. So I met their mother and father when I was first kind of getting into the game in 2014, and they were already like, disc golf was their thing, right? It was like, hey, we are training our daughters to become professional disc golfers. And it wasn't a storyline that anyone was really used to. Like, that's the storyline in Finland, right? Like, Lehtomäki's father is like, this is what she's doing. She's training for this. So it was already like, okay, I'm going to keep my eyes on them. They were already great players, kind of dominating tournaments in San Antonio. But to see Valerie's rise, obviously the wins in 2022, the back-to-back wins in Oregon, I think that was 2022. But the ankle injury, I think it's not talked about enough what Valerie has kind of come through, because you go through a serious injury like she did, you're not guaranteed to find your game again, right? Like, you're not guaranteed to get to the top of this profession. And so I think it's a great story that unfolded here this week in Peoria. She played technical golf all week long. She played clean, not a lot of major mistakes. That was a great shot on 14. The difficult par 5 just kind of threaded the needle there on the left side. And then this is just a beautiful, beautiful look at the speed control, Brian. What do you see?
Well, Nate, we got to see the drive on 16 again, because this is the Val Monduhano shot. It's everything that I would describe her play style as. She's going on 16, which is a tough par 3 downhill, and she goes driver. And not only does she go driver, she goes full flight hyzer flip driver down the hill. This disc lands in the bullseye and then stays in the bullseye. That's how good she is at getting a full flight out of the disc, putting a bunch of spin on it. And when she's playing well, it's a really beautiful thing to watch. It's like watching Nicholas Antila and MPO play disc golf.
Very similar, very similar.
In this super technical style that's really easy to screw up, but they do it exclusively. So of course they're going to get consistent with it. And I love watching her play. But coming down the stretch, it was starting to get really interesting. You sent me a text. You were locked in, Nate.
Oh, it was really interesting, man. And the hole 18 at Northwood is it's a tough finishing hole, right? It's a tough finishing hole for a couple of reasons. A, we can't see what's going on, right? If you're a spectator, you're up by 18. I have no idea where anyone is. They're down the hill. You can't see. So again, the cameras are the best angle, right? And Val had a chance to close it out. All Valerie needed was a par on the 18th, right? Own was already in the clubhouse. I think she was in at 19. Valerie missed the shot on 17. She bogeys, and all she needs is a par. And she had bogeyed it the previous round, right? So there was a little bit of tension in the hole, and she had an opportunity. She was right on the hillside, and she just had to split a gap right in front of her. Hits the first tree, kicks left. To me, the tournament was over, right? She went from I'm going to get a par to now bogey is kind of out of the question. Then she threw an amazing shot over there to 28 feet. We saw it just a moment ago. If you're watching on Jomez YouTube, she hit like a 26, 28 footer from the left side, awkward tree right in her way to push the playoff. But before we talk about what happened in the playoff, I want to make sure to highlight what Owen Scoggins did in this final round from the chase card, okay? Because at the World Championships, I interviewed her, and I really will never forget the putting performance at Worlds, because she went 7 for 7 from C1X and 6 for 9 from C2 at the World Championships with 124 meters of total putt. Okay. And here during the final round from the chase card, Owen goes 6 for 7 from C1X and 5 for 7 from C2 with 397 feet of total putting. The long putt 56, and you know, I think that's being generous on the 50. I think it was longer, or not being generous enough. I think it was longer than that. And I think she had a fairway putt in there as well that is not included in the total putting. So over 400 feet of total putting. And she shoots, what is that, a 7 under on the back 9 at Northwood Black? That is unheard of. That's unheard of golf to put herself in that position. So Owen Scoggins coming back from the world title, right back in it, 4-round tournament. It's 100 degrees, 80% humidity, and she's battling. So really cool to see Owen put the pressure on Val. Really, I thought it was over, and for Valerie to kind of make that putt, push the playoff. And then let's jump into the controversy, right? Or lack of controversy, rather. Brian, I want you to go first. Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened with the picking up the disc, and give me your opinion on it.
Yeah, sure. Playoff happens. Val's close. Owen hits a putt. Owen goes, "You're good. I got you." Picks up Val's disc inside the bullseye, gives it to Val. They walk back. They're both good. It was agreed upon that that's what she was going to do. And obviously, tournament director, comes up and says, "You can't do that." And both of them kind of freeze, like, "Oh no, is this about to get called? Like, is the tournament about to end just because of that?" No, it didn't. That's the lack of controversy. The only controversial thing is that it was stopped. And then people started having discussions about the rules and the integrity of the rules. But she dropped the disc back, the approximate lie. They both agreed upon it. She tapped in and they went back and finished the playoff. Frankly, uh, a sudden death is supposed to determine the winner. And as long, in my opinion, especially because it's disc golf, this is not Olympic disc golf yet. Uh, if both players say you're good, just pick it up. I don't want to end the tournament on you missing a 6-footer. Go back to the tee pad and keep going. That's my opinion on it. What about you?
Cool. I'm right there with you. I don't think that there was an issue at all. I think it was a little strange. I mean, I don't blame the guys in the booth for, wondering if there's a rule or if it should be enforced, but I think the most important rule is the spirit of the game, right? Like let's follow that first. Like, are we really going to enforce this penalty in a sudden death playoff and in the entire tournament because Owen wanted to pick up Val's like inside the bullseye? Like, it wasn't even bullseye's edge, it was like inside the bullseye. Like, no one wants that. Val doesn't want it. Not a single Val fan at home wants it. So there's no problem. And internet was going crazy saying that, hey, this is the rule, you should stroke them. Like, that's not what rules are for. Rules aren't so like these players are like walking on a tightrope, right? Rules are enforced and regulation to keep the game, the integrity of the game, right? And we lose the integrity of the game if we enforce the penalty in that situation. So I'm right there with you. I'm glad that Heinold was like, hey, you can't do that, put it back, let's keep playing. And it wasn't talked about from then on. And then Val goes on to birdie the hole. Like they were talking that there were 3 birdies on the hole ever in the history of that hole for FPO, and then Val does it in the playoffs. So, in the end, the right person won, and it didn't come down to a rule violation. So, huge congratulations to Val. That's a massive win. She shoots an 11 down at Sunset, round 3. That's 1035 rated. That's her second 1030 plus rated round of the season. Remember, she had that 12 under at Preserve earlier in the year, not for the win, but still, nonetheless, 1035 doesn't happen very often in FPO. Huge congrats to Val, and let's transition over to MPO, Brian.
Well, I have one last question. I want to just ask, generally speaking, we play multiple courses here at Ledgestone. Camera crew, operations crew, they know that Ledgestone is a real heavy lift. And frankly, camera guys have to deal with the weather delays, and then you have to deal with the playoff, and then you have to hustle over to the next course and keep filming when the MPO finishes out their round in Eureka. And Eureka and Northwoods are like 20 minutes apart, I believe, maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not highway time, but it's the fact that both courses take a little bit of side roads to get there. So it was a big logistical lift. And we're talking about another course that the MPO don't play, and that's Sunset.
Yep.
Just a quick question. A lot of players have been starting to say it's not a perfect course for us anymore. I've been hearing it more and more over the years. It scores very well. What are your thoughts? Do we need to move away from Sunset? Do we like it there? Do there need to be any changes to the layout?
Sunset was a world's course, right? It was, remember Paige tapping in there, 2019 to get her 5th title. And, at that time, Sunset was an amazing course for FPO, because it is ripe for scoring, right? And it continues, in my mind, to be a course where double digits are possible, but at the same time, an average round, even par, 1 over par, very possible, right? The leader of round 1, Rebecca Cox, she shoots 1,009 in round 1 and comes back. She shoots 1 over in round 2, and she shoots, what does she shoot? She shoots 2 over in round 3. And Rebecca's a great golfer. She's been hunting down her first win. She's 960 rated, right? 958, and she didn't shoot under there. So the golf itself might be might appear easy, a little too easy to the players that are playing it really well. But I think FPO needs a few courses like that where scoring is happening. Pace of
Yeah.
play is quick, scoring is happening. So I'm actually a big fan of Sunset, and I haven't heard the specifics of what the players are talking about with like maybe needing it to change, but I'm absolutely with you on the nightmare logistics of playing, right? Especially a lot of the tour is like together, like, Val and Mason Ford. It's like the logistics of like, okay, when's your tea time? Sunset's 30 minutes south over here, Eureka's north, like the Northwoods is east. Like it's tough. It's tough, and going back and forth is an issue for the disc golf network, especially when there's a playoff and a delay. So logistics have always been tough at Northwoods. Brian, what do you think of Sunset?
Well, I mentioned this because over the years, I do these interviews at the press conferences and I talk to players in passing, and the attitude had definitely changed. I don't think the players hate this place at all. I just, for the first time in the past couple of years, started hearing players say, maybe needs some changing, or maybe we move on from this course. But like you said, aside from what other people are saying, we just look at the scoring. This is the lead card after round 3 at Sunset. 11 down, 6 down, 9 down, 7 down. And then we go down the next 4, 7 down, 4 down, 4 down, 3 down. If you showed me that for MPO, people would be like, "Oh yeah, good." So we have courses like Fox Run that players will shoot 15 under on, and no one really bats an eye for MPO. So where's the line? I don't know. I still think Sunset is a good course. When you walk the grounds, when you play the holes, some of the holes are a little bit, like, too straightforward for
Sure.
my liking. But at the end of the day, we want the players to go there. We want them to throw good shots and score, and I think it's a good compliment to Northwoods. If the entire tournament
Cool.
was at Sunset Hills again,
Same.
but I think it's a
Same.
a good compliment. So, moving on to MPO, I wanna start talking about Eureka.
Yep.
You mentioned 2016. One of the greatest rounds that is not talked about. This is, in my opinion, top 3 greatest rounds of all time, because this is the year
Wow.
Nate,
What did Paul
Paul
do?
McBeth
What did Paul
shot
do?
a 50. Paul McBeth shot a 14 down at, Eureka Temp when it was stroke and distance everything. Let's take a
Stroke
look
and
here.
distance, everything. It was 11:05 rated, 2016. This was the final round to win by 12 over Kale Leviska. Takes
Mhm.
second, Cam Colglazer. A lot of our listeners might not even know Colglazer, another shredder from Alabama. Career earnings 130,000.
Yeah, Cam was a shredder for sure. I played a lot of disc golf with
Absolutely.
him. But Nate, that's my pick. That goes on my Mount Rushmore. 14 down at that course with stroke and distance everything, that was insane. And frankly, this leads me into my next point. I know the setting of Lake Eureka is not great. We're throwing over the baseball fields. There were holes in the past where we were throwing 2 volleyball courts and then throwing from volleyball courts to island greens. There was like artificial islands that were created. Players were taking. There was a player who had like a mental breakdown on a hole and took a 40, and he got suspended by the PDGA or
Oh
something
yeah,
like that.
Jake
Yeah, yeah.
from Colorado. Yeah, I can't remember his last name.
So, but this course has evolved over time. It started out rough, and I remember hearing people say, "This place is a circus." I remember hearing a lot of people singing the circus theme,
Yeah, yeah.
and feeling like this team was just dangling money in front of them like a piece of cheese. Like,
Yep.
"Oh yeah, dance for me, monkey. I've designed this course. I have the best payout. You have nothing that you can do about it. You're gonna come here and play." But you know what? Over time, this course has continued to improve, and do the best that they can do with the land that they've been given. And do I think it is a course that wows the outside world like the Estonian Disc Golf Festival or the World Championships this year? Absolutely not. But I've listed out some holes that, in my opinion, are legitimately good disc golf holes if you remove aesthetics from it, and I think they should be praised for designing a course that is still very demanding. What do you think about Lake Eureka? I know it's changed quite a bit over the years.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you about the fact that you take out the aesthetics, the golf itself, there are some amazing holes. We were just flying backwards through hole 2. Like that is a great hole. The subtle slope from right to left down toward the water, like you can't just blast the backhand and turn it quick because it'll cut roll down into the water. You can't flatten out the flick too much. You can't hyzer the flick too much or it'll go OB right. Like there are some great holes out there, but where I stand on Eureka, we've got to get out of Peoria, Illinois, right? We have to get out of this place. Nate Heinold gets a lot of shit from the internet. Takes a lot of flack, and he doesn't get enough praise for how much work he has put in and the catalyst that he has been for getting more money into the pro purses over the years, right? We have to give him credit for that. We've got to give him credit for what he's built with Ledgestone. You know, he's cutting $1 million checks to Discraft, multi-million dollar checks at this point to buy discs up front to then move it into the Ledgestone machine, which he then distributes obviously into his own pocket, but to the pocket of the players, right? Like Paige has been for years, like that man has made me so much money. And there are a lot of players out there. If we look, like Nate has been directly linked to tens of thousands of dollars of their income over the years. And got to give him credit there. But if Nate hears this at all, I think that if he really wants this to grow into something even bigger than what it's been in Peoria and Eureka and Pekin, Illinois, like let's move it, right? Like I was always feeling that way about Emporia. It's like dynamic disc. What are you doing? We can play disc golf anywhere. We've talked about this endless. We can play disc golf in the redwood forests of NorCal. Like we can play disc golf in the Everglades in freaking Florida. We can play anywhere. Why are we playing in a cornfield? Why are we playing in a city park? Why are we throwing over a baseball field hole? These holes, they are, I guess you could say, somewhat like iconic because we've seen them so many times, but you have the opportunity to create that anywhere. Let's take our sport and put it in the most ideal setting, move the Ledgestone Open, move it to closer to a bigger city, move it to a prettier piece of land where aesthetics aren't a problem, but they enhance your tournament. That's where I stand. The golf itself at Eureka Temp, when the wind is down, it's slightly too predictable at the top, right? Gannon was even saying like, "Hey, I've got a lead. I feel good. Shots out there for me are pretty easy." Everyone else was saying it too. AB's like, "I have to birdie every hole. If I'm going to catch up to Gannon, I have to birdie every hole." That's not necessarily what we want, right? We don't want it to be that predictable. That's where I stand on it.
I get that. I totally get that. And I think it's easier said than done to just say, "Oh yeah, let's go get a piece of land and let's develop it." Like we just heard about the Presidential Palace grounds, and we might not see that place until 2029. Might be wrong about that, but it's just hard to come by land to put out courses that continue to set the standard for what course design is supposed to be in disc golf. And um, you know what? I'm going to go through this list. These are holes on this course that I would be okay with bringing to another property if we could change the aesthetics. Here we go. 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 13, 14, 18. The one thing I will say about 13, the par 5, is I wish that the far side fairway came into play more.
Was an option for the lefty.
Yeah, it's J. Oh, no, for nobody. Nobody's birdieing from that left side. Like
It's rare. It's so rare.
I've never seen it. So
Yeah.
let's talk to the viewers that are watching on Jomez right now. So Nate, talk us through this hole from the righty's perspective.
Yeah, so it's really 3 hyzers, right? And this is an amazing disc golf hole. This is incredible the way that they found this, but this first shot is probably 360 to clear the water, right? But you don't want to hit those rocks because if you hit and go into the water, you're going straight to the drop zone, which kind of forces a lot of people to play up the left side. And you really want to be on the right side of the tree, so you're trying to land in between the shade right here if you're watching on
Like
YouTube,
here.
trying to land right here close to the water so that you have space for that hyzer. If you throw the first one too far, you're in no man's land and you can't throw the next hyzer out over the water, and you have to go play left side like Brian was just saying, and the birdie's not possible. One year James Conrad and I were playing on a pretty good card. We had shot like 1030 round 1, and we're playing with Nathan Queen. And Queen is throwing Mako's lefty backhand out over the water and turning them each time, dude. He goes lefty backhand driver into the zone. Then he goes Mako turnover, birdie. James and I both bogey it. And Nathan Queen whips us. Nathan Queen whips us at Eureka Temp. But anyhow, this is just a great hole, great use of the land. And yes, the hyzers are easy. If you're playing good disc golf, you're on lead card, chase card, you're probably not going to miss these hyzers, right? The problem is the final shot, and it's tough to kind of gauge that distance. You've got a little bit of a wire. There's been this like wire that's in play over on the right side. You can kind of see it in the screen right now, but you're like, should I throw under the wire and kind of punch it flat, or should I just go high and stall it? And a lot of players are ending up left with this kind of downhill putt, and it's easy to kind of hit and roll deep too. So it looks easy when Gannon Buhr does it, when AB does it, but it's really, it's not the easiest hole in the world. And visually, this is one of the better ones at Eureka.
Definitely. And the other two, 14 and 18, those, I think the very next hole after the par 5 is a really challenging, unique par 4. The shot you have to throw has a lot of touch and power required. Second shot is a mash over the OB. And then 18, you take out the swing sets and you take out the electrical boxes and all the little things that are there. It's a beautiful par 4 with the water on the right side. So
great hole.
Yeah, there are some redeeming qualities. And frankly, what I liked about 18 is that over the years, players grew to understand how the birdie was gotten. And at first, people did not like this hole. They thought it was stupid. There were so many players going over the water left and trying to just smash as far as they could. I remember watching Jake Hebenheimer. That was the first time I'd ever seen him throw. Smash a flex over the water, trying to get it in bounds way up there. But now, over time, players are realizing that just because you're in the fairway doesn't mean you're going to get the birdie. So they're playing a lot more specific. They're putting their landing zones at the highest priority because the second shot to the basket is not guaranteed. So a lot of players are trying to hug this shot to the water. I've seen some lefties, myself included, try to play short on that first tee shot and then blast the hyzer up the water. Rollers on this hole are always really
big roller
because of the
smoke. Fun.
So you know what? Redeeming qualities, I think, and also hole 5. I've said this for years, but if hole 5 was the exact type of hole it is now, but the baseball field was gone, where the dirt and outfield was a pond, and where the fence was just a row of hedge bushes lining the pond, beautiful par 3. Absolutely gorgeous par 3. But that's not the case. So I don't know what the future of this course is. I actually don't know how bought in Heinold is to this track, but Northwood, and we'll kind of zoom in on the action now too. Northwoods is one of my favorite courses on the planet. And I know you say it's a good course, but you still don't think it's enough reason to stay in Peoria. I think it is. This is world class. We don't have Jackson anymore. You can't keep taking away things from us that we love.
Yeah.
Northwood is here to stay. And frankly, I'm okay if Northwood is what we play exclusively, kind of like Champions Cup. I know logistically it's not the best for spectators, but it's
Yep.
gotten better over the years. But Nate, people are shredding Northwoods. Are you serious? 11 under par, and not just by one person, I don't think. There was multiple 11
No,
under pars shot there now.
that's right.
What changed? What has changed?
The players just, I think they continue to get better. But even if their total skill set doesn't change, I think it has to be just experience at that exact course, right? Like the mental fortitude that it plays, that it takes to play Northwood. When you first get there, you hear about it being so hard and it's intimidating, and it just whips up on you. And if you're not used to the humidity and the heat, like you have all these factors and it's going to beat you down, right? But when you're playing this for, I think Paul McBeth's playing this course for his like 50th time or something, right? You played Northwoods twice for the past 10 years. Okay, so he's probably playing it for the 22nd time or 25th time in competition, something like that, right? And the experience at the specific course matters, right? So I think that plays a lot into it, but I'm with you. I think the scores at Northwood Black, some of the golf there was the story of the entire tournament, right? Because we have seen in the past, like a 4 down be the hot round and like 5 people shoot under par. We've seen winners of the tournament shoot over par, which never happens. Never happens at any course where you can shoot over during one of your rounds and still win the tournament. So Paul McBeth ties the course record. I think Emerson Keith had it at 9. Paul McBeth ties it with a bogey on 1. Silas Schultz ties the course record with a bogey on hole 9. Silas was 5 under through the first 6. Silas went on Instagram and said, "This is the best round I've ever played, in my best career round." And then they played again in round 3. Isaac Robinson turns in an 11 under par, 1075 rated, with pars on the last 3. Okay, he pars the downhill 330 hole. Then he pars the 320-foot hole, like past the little creek, one of the shorter holes on the entire course, the shortest hole on the entire course, and the second shortest, and then the 18th very difficult birdie. And then Luke Taylor, which was another story of the entire tournament. Luke Taylor, we saw him make that run at Worlds last year in Virginia. It's no surprise, but what he was able to do to kind of stay in the mix, I think after hole 5 of the final round, after Gannon took that double, Luke Taylor birdies it. Luke Taylor is 2 off the lead when Gannon Buhr is playing phenomenal golf above his rating at that point in the tournament. Gannon went 1090, 1054, 1059, and starts with 3 for 3. And all of a sudden, Luke Taylor is still 2 off him through 5 holes, final round. So what Luke Taylor did at Northwood Black to tie the 4-time major champion, Isaac Robinson, who shoots arguably his best round ever. I would have to talk to him and see how he felt. But 11 under at Northwood Black is arguably Isaac Robinson's best round ever. Like that includes what he was able to do at WR Jackson for his first major, and that includes all his golf at the World Championships. Like this could be his best round ever, and Luke Taylor ties it, and they both go bogey free. So to me, those were some of the stories of the entire week. And then Kyle Klein, Andrew Marweed both shoot a 10. Marweed shoots a 10 with 3 bogeys. This is just insane. I mean, that is a record number of birdies there. That's 13 birdies, Brian, at Northwood Black. He had 2 pars on the round.
That almost doesn't compute with me. I remember, I mean, the course has opened up a bit over the years, and there's been some changes since they first called it Northwood.
You're going to tell the Ezra story? Tell the Ezra story. Is that where you're going, dude?
No, but
the
I
Robinson
can't.
Story?
I can. I can. But the course, when I first started playing here, the first year that it was Northwood Black, 2 under par was disgusting. I think
it's
1,000
like 1050
was like +6. It was so
Yeah.
thick. No scrambling on the sides of some of the newer holes that were cut. But now you can scramble a little bit. So these scores make more sense, but I wish people would understand the fairways that haven't been there. Seriously, Perkins is kind of dogging on Peoria. I went to school around. I've spent a lot of time in Peoria. I lived there after college for a little bit. The disc golf out there is outrageous. Go take a trip. It's a totally great place to be if you're a tourist, especially for disc golf. Not only do you have Northwood, and then across the street you have Westwood, which is like a tighter version of Northwood and shorter. So much fun, so brutal,
What
so much
what's that
elevation.
other one that they used to play in the Masters? McNaughton, insane.
McNaughton is fantastic. There's great courses all over the area, and there's actually more now that I haven't played. Wildlife Prairie Park, one of the coolest adventure disc golf courses that you'll ever play. Crazy elevation change. Some of the most iconic holes in the Midwest are on that track, and that's in Peoria. So I'm not going to let you dog fully on Peoria disc golf because I will openly tell people to
Hey,
beware.
I'm not dogging on the disc golf.
Ah!
Disc golf is I'm dogging on the Brown River, the Walmart, and the cornfield. All right. It's like, let's get out of there.
Wow.
Let's get out of there.
But anyway, well, I'm gonna back up here. I'll tell the Ezra Robinson story. Fine. I was following his card one year at Northwood Black. I was the on-course reporter, and I was just yearning for a better way to track fairway hits because sometimes you hit a tree at Northwoods, 30 feet in front of you, kick into the middle of the fairway, and the stat doesn't tell the story of how good the shot was. So I was tracking my own stat of like pure fairway hits. Has to hit the gap, has to be way down the fairway, and can't hit a tree late. Has to be out of the hand pure, land pure. Ezra Robinson was like 15 of 18 pure fairway hits, backhand only at Northwood Black. And I think it was one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen for like tee to fairway.
Wow.
And I hope one day we have a better way of tracking fairway hits
Yeah.
because
Same.
I feel like, or just stats in general. Like, here's another request for the PDGA. If a player misses a bullseye putt, that needs to count. That needs to go against their C1X. I know we're
Should
tracking.
count double. Count it
It's not
double.
double. We don't need to count double.
You missed twice.
The detriment is that you missed a bullseye putt. We don't need to, add insult to injury there. But
Yeah.
that needs to count towards C1X because C1X is supposed to tell the whole story of how the round went without all the tap-ins. I think if you make a bullseye, it doesn't matter, but if you miss one, it should. So that's another one. But in general, that's what I was trying to do with that stat tracking. But Nate, Gannon Buhr wins. He comes, has one practice round, and I believe it was at Eureka. I don't even think he went to Northwood. And then he wins in just commanding fashion. And there were a couple things that happened that kind of shook him a little bit, and we could tell they shook him. He's been getting called for time warnings since he was a kid, since he started coming around. He's always been a very methodical player. He has a reputation of being a methodical player. But this week, I could tell he got rattled a little bit by the time warnings from the marshal on his card. And I actually want to play the interview that he did with Terry after round number 3. And then I want this to open up a bigger conversation about the rules and how pro disc golf should be officiated. Let's roll it.
With regard you speeding up your play at a certain point in the round, can you describe the scenario and what unfolded?
Yeah, I just felt like I got an unfair call, and I felt like it was time for me to make a point, basically, and just to prove to everyone that I can play fast and still play good. So I was really proving to myself that I can do that, and I'm just not going to stand for stuff like that. So I don't have any regrets. I'm happy with how I played, and moving forward, I'm just gonna do me and see what happens.
I got to dig just a little more and then ask, and describe what you mean by unfair and exactly what was the call that was made.
Yeah, I was told I took 42 seconds, which probably was true on that shot. It was kind of a tricky lie. It was like a weird forehand stance, and today was so humid I just couldn't get a grip on my disc. So I spent like the last 10 seconds just trying to get a grip. So, but the very next shot, another player breaks the rule multiple times today, and I saw it at least 2 or 3 times today that wasn't called, and I was kind of appalled by it. So, I just really wanted to, like I said, prove a point, and I'm glad I did.
Okay. It was incredible.
So, a lot to unpack here, and not because I want to unpack Gannon's reaction to getting called in the time warning. I don't care about that. When you're a competitive player, when you're a competitive athlete, especially like Gannon, who has told me he wants to try to remove all luck out of disc golf that he can, especially when he starts to design his own courses one day. He's pitched to me some really interesting course design ideas that bring that removal of luck into play. It's frustrating to you, of course. And we hear it all the time from the players. I just want consistency. I don't care about the rules being enforced. I just want them to be enforced consistently. The problem here is, you know what? Whatever. He got called for the time warnings. He dealt with it. He tried to play super fast to like make a point, whether it's to the people or himself. Whatever. You're a pro athlete. You handle that how you wish. But I think a bigger discussion that we need to have is, what is black and white enforcement of time in disc golf? It sets the marshals up to fail, because at a place like Northwood, they have to determine when the appropriate time is to start the clock. And
Yep.
that's not fully set up in the rules for the marshals to have like a perfect blueprint to follow. So,
Yep.
and I've talked to a lot of these marshals, not only the one that was on Gannon's card. I've talked to marshals for years about this kind of stuff. And they say, okay, we try to read the room. If you're at Northwood and you're way deep in the woods and it's like a bad lie, it's going to take you a little bit to get settled and see the gap, see the fairway, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to start the clock maybe a little bit later than if you were in the middle of the fairway and what you have to do is very clear. So it can't be called quote unquote fairly from the standpoint of a lot of players, because there is no perfect black or white. It's not like the disc hits the ground and the clock starts for your shot. So my question to you, Nate, and the listeners, send us an email. We haven't gotten an email in a little bit because we haven't asked for it, but abnbpod@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts. This is probably going to get posted on social media as well, because I really think this discussion needs to be had. What is black and white enforcement of time in disc golf?
Well, here's where I'm at on the whole thing. I feel that I don't think disc golf needs to follow golf in every shape, right? I think that the PGA Tour, their rule right now is 40 seconds to hit your shot, right? But that rule has been enforced one time since 2017 and wasn't enforced 20 years. The last time before that was 20 years before that. So essentially, the PGA Tour doesn't enforce a shot clock on their players at the top level. And I feel that the 30-second rule for disc golf, it was made in a time where disc golf couldn't really be your career, right? Like even the best players in the world, King Climo, like they weren't making a full career out of this. They were going and playing disc golf as a hobby and winning titles and then coming back and going to work, right? And now a shot, taking time before a shot could be a life-altering moment, right? Like if you get up and down on this hole, like you could take the lead and win a title that could potentially change your life. I don't think we need to have a 30-second clock timing someone to hit their shot or to throw the disc, right? I think that we should have a loose rule that if the card is egregiously going past their shot clock and slowing up the rest of the tournament, then we send a marshal out over to them and we see if there's a specific player that's like taking a minute, taking 2 minutes on a shot, and then we warn them and then we stroke them. I don't think that the players playing on the lead card coming down the stretch should be worried about whether or not they're taking 40 seconds or 50 seconds to throw the shot, right? I think we need to change the rule is where I'm at. But having said that, right now, 30 seconds is the rule. And I don't want to just pick on Gannon, But I'll tell a story from 2021 Worlds. James Conrad, we're hanging out. He goes on to win the tournament, right? And James is bringing a stool with him to like round 2 or round 3. And I'm like, James, why are you bringing a stool? And James was like, well, I'm playing with 2-minute Gannon. Oh. And I'm like, it took me a second to figure out what he was talking about. And he's like, James brought a stool to the round because Gannon was taking so long before each shot that James wanted to sit down on the stool instead of just standing around before his next shot. So Gannon has had a notorious, he's been notorious for this for years, right? You said that he's been called for time violations since he was, 14 years old, when he first became 1,000 rated. So Gannon, the law or the rule that's in place right now, Gannon has been violating for some time, and he has a reputation for going past 30 seconds. He doesn't need to worry about whether or not other players are getting called. That's not his concern. He needs to worry about following the rules and throwing his shot under 30 seconds. While I think that shouldn't be the case, I think that the rule should change. While that's still a rule, he needs to follow it, because the second that a marshal calls him, it changes the entire emotional dynamic, right? There's no doubt he's going to have an emotional rise. He's going to have a reaction, and it's going to change the golf. So it's in his best interest to forget about whether or not it's being called fairly and to just shorten the routine up a little bit. He's come a long way, but he needs to shorten it up even further until that rule change is implemented. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah. Again, I think what a lot of players, not just Gannon, are frustrated about with this is what is the actual time? Like, players are here and they want it to be as competitively fair across the board as possible. And with roaming marshals, it can't be, because sometimes you have cars that are not going to get a marshal on them at all.
No marshal ever.
And so what you're saying is, certain cards will draw attention because they have either players that have reputations, yada, yada, yada. They get followed and they get on the clock. The thing that they're all frustrated about, and Gannon is too clearly, is when does the clock start? When can there be a situation where I have nothing I can say? I can't challenge the opinion of a whether a spotter or a marshal or whatever.
Yep.
How can we create a scenario where that never comes into play? And I don't know if there should, I don't know if there can be, whether it's like
right,
the disc from one player hits the ground and then it's 2 minutes.
You have a minute. Yeah,
you
something like that.
Get to your lie and set it up and go.
Assess it and determine who's next.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I just think the rule should change.
Well, hang on.
Go ahead.
Let me finish real quick. If we remove the time violation altogether, how much slower does the game get?
I don't think it gets much slower.
Exactly. So then I'm thinking, what if there was a black and white? This disc comes to rest, marshal hits the stop clock, and now you have a minute and a half to get to your lie. It's never going to be that far away. And probably when you get to your lie, you have a minute to throw anyway. So like you said in golf, loose rule, but at least it's black and white. I don't know. I'm curious to see what the PDGA does in the future. It sounds like they're going to change to fairway shots are 45 seconds. C1 is 30. Cool. Tee shots are 30, and then you get 2 time extensions. I'm not entirely sure, but the most black and white that I can think of is literally you have an overall general clock. Or what about, hey, I got one. Chess timers for every single player. When you start your round, you get 30 minutes of shot clock, and it starts from T1. And that's it.
That's great. And you just have like a watch or something, and you're just like, okay, now it's my turn to throw.
And
I forgot to hit my shot clock.
The moment you click it, it starts somebody else's. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's good. No, that's good. Let's get rid of the rule. We don't need to be calling people on the time. And you're right. It sets the marshal up for failure, puts the marshal in a weird spot. The marshals don't want to enforce that. They don't want to enforce that. But as the rule stands, they have to, because if Gannon's taking 50 seconds on a wide open fairway shot, doing his little chalk thing, a million times, like, it's puts him in a tough spot. Like Gannon gets picked on a little bit because he has the reputation, because he has taken time and he pushes over 30 seconds all the time. So Gannon, I'm with you. Like let's drop it, but until then, just shorten it up. Just shorten it up a little bit so it's not a problem for you.
Well, I think one of the marvels that I have when I speak with him and interview him is that he can have situations like that where he gets really frustrated and he can still lock in and focus and win the tournament by multiple strokes. Paul had the same thing where I remember seeing Paul fold his putters in half and throw them in the trash and then win a tournament and go off and shoot a course record. So
Wow.
the best players, the best athletes can feel intensity. They're not afraid of negative emotion. And I think a lot of disc golfers are afraid of that. When they feel negative emotion, they feel shame. Like, why does this game make me feel like this? Well, it's that intensity that kind of brings you into the moment. You want that as an athlete. So a guy like Gannon can be very frustrated and very intense, but still somehow stay focused. So I'm curious to see what happens in the future. Let us know your thoughts, folks. How do we black and whiteify the time ruling in disc golf? Can it be done? With that said,
great point, Brian.
Overall, MPO competition here at Ledgestone, Gannon wins. What else stands out to you? Who else do you have to shout out?
Well, I want to focus on Gannon a little bit more because it is not normal to dominate a sport like golf, right? Tiger Woods was one of the most iconic people, one of the most recognizable people in the entire world because he dominated a sport that you can't dominate, right? People that don't even understand the game of golf turned heads because they're like, oh, okay, this young guy is just dominating this sport. And for years, through his success, there would be people that were like, this isn't going to last, right? There's no way this isn't going to last. That win was a fluke, like he can't do it again. And for years, he continued to dominate, and that's why he's one of the icon. He's on the Mount Rushmore of the entire sporting world. And what Gannon Buhr is doing is very similar. He is dominating the sport that no one really thinks you can dominate, right? There are so many talented people. There are world champions, there are multi-time major champions, there are young up and comers. There are shredders everywhere you look. And Gannon is flying back from China, not practicing, and he's winning the tournament by 5. He's averaging 1069. Well, he's 1061 rated. He's closing in on the all-time ratings record. It's unfathomable what Gannon is doing, and I really feel like Gannon has an opportunity to turn a lot of heads to this sport because of the display of dominance. Like this just it's not guaranteed to happen again in the future. Like that's why we have so many different major champions, because even you perfect your craft week to week, it's still going to be hard to repeat at the top level. So I'm just so impressed with Buhr. Never had a bad round. What was his worst round? His worst round was a 7 under. His worst round was a 7 under at Northwood, Brian. And then an 8 under at Northwood. He shoots a 1090 rated 12 under par round 1 with a bogey on the 5th, missed the baseball field hole. He shoots an 11 under 1073 rated final round with a double on the baseball field hole. I didn't see how he missed it day 1, but did you see how he missed it day 2? Just kind of barely fell out of his hand early, came up short, but behind the baseball field, the back fence, which is a common miss, and then didn't get up and down from the drop zone. But normally, players leading the tournament, they double bogey a hole, they give 3 strokes back to their closest competitor. Normally, some amount of panic kind of sets in, and you kind of see the emotion shift. But he goes back and he birdies the 885-foot par 4 number 6 with a circle 1 putt. And then he takes 1 par in the next 11 holes. Like is that panic? Like what he said, he wasn't nervous on a single shot. He said he's
Well,
just out there having fun.
yeah. Well, this is actually from the interview he did with Terry on 18. And I think this is a very big turning point in his career. He said, honestly, I feel like I've been telling everyone this since I got the world title. I can finally relax. I can just play, have fun, and enjoy playing disc golf. There's not much pressure anymore. It's a wonderful feeling, not having to be stressed about anything. Today, I wasn't nervous on a single shot. I was really just having fun with my buddies. And the next accomplishment I'm going for is the ratings record. So he is a goal setter. And here, I'm going to read a couple other quotes from athletes that have achieved all those dreams and all those accolades. Kobe Bryant says, the biggest challenge isn't winning once. It's waking up the next morning and convincing yourself to do it all over again with the same hunger when everyone's telling you you've already made it.
Wow.
Tiger Woods has said, when you win and you have success, people see the trophies, but what they don't see is the isolation, the criticism, the temptation. Fame gives you everything and takes a lot away at the same time. And there's quite a few players talking about, yes, it's very easy when you're hungry trying to make a name for yourself, but when you've achieved all those dreams, when he hits the ratings record, the challenge for him as an athlete is going to be, how do I keep this going with the same fire that I have? How is Paul McBeth still here 18 years later? That's just ingrained within you. And we'll see. I'm curious to see what happens to Gannon. There's already been quotes of people saying, oh, well, at what point is Gannon the greatest of all time? And I'm like, well, you got to wait a little bit. He can't even drink a beer legally in the United States. You got to give him some time. But it's a great start to his career, and pretty mind-boggling what he's doing to raise the bar for the next generation of players. Now everyone's eyes are on him. The kids know what to
Well,
look
how
for.
many majors does he have, Brian? He just has 4, right? He's got 2 US, a Europe, a European, and a Worlds.
Yeah.
And what is Paul? Paul has 16. Paul has 16 majors.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think the conversation, has to. It's not going to start for several years, right? I think Gannon is dominating the most talented field that we've ever seen, because the field just continues to get deeper and deeper, and at a certain point, the field's going to max out, right? I don't think we're there yet. I don't think, because on the PGA Tour, the worst player on the tour is still in contention to win the tournament at the very beginning, right? The worst player can hit the shots necessary. We can't say that for disc golf just yet. I don't think, especially for some of these deep tournaments, right? For some of these deep tournaments, we still have sub 1,000 rated players playing the tournament, right? We still have the locals who have full-time jobs playing the tournament. In 10 years, a tournament even this deep, the worst player is going to be a 10-20 rated golfer who plays full-time, who can win. So Gannon is dominating the best fields that we've ever seen, but we still can't throw him in for greatest of all time yet. I mean, he's got 4 majors, and that's 25% of where Paul McBeth's at. So we'll bring up that conversation in a couple years. Another player actually that I want to talk about, Brian, you have to go down the list a little bit. He got 16th place with a 10 under rated 1065. Jesse, and forgive me, Jesse, if I'm butchering this last name, Longenekkar, Jesse Longenekkar from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 1028 rated. I'm like, okay, that's a great finish, 16th place. I click on his name. I go and look. The month of June, actually we'll start in May. He wins the Sunstein Open, $1,000 he cashed. And then June, wins the A tier Discraft's Oakland County Championship, gets second at the next A tier, and then wins 3 A tiers in a row. Okay, so from late May to late July, his worst finish was second. He was beaten by Paul Kranz by 1 up in Vermont at Brewster Ridge. It looks like they played Brewster Ridge 3 times. That is a streak, okay? He also, in the month of April, he won the Collegiate National Championships, the singles event. He beats Jaden Rye by 3 strokes. He's 1020 rated, and he beats a 1018 rated Jaden Rye, who's been balling. who's been playing some great golf this year and is an absolute crusher. But we haven't seen Longenekkar on any camera yet, on any coverage just yet, Brian. But I wanted to throw his name in the hat because he is playing some phenomenal golf this year. He's pushing 1030 rated. He averaged 1037 at this event. And where is he playing next? Let's see. He's playing at Idlewild. He's going to Idlewild. So you heard it here first, folks, here on All Birdies No Bogeys. Keep your eyes out for PDGA number 149546. Kid is playing some fire golf. Can't wait to see how he's making it happen.
Yeah, I've watched him throw a little bit. It's very impressive.
You have?
Yeah.
Where'd you watch him?
I think there was some like local tournament that I watched. It wasn't like a pro tour event, but I watched some YouTube footage of him. I don't have the tournament off the top of my head, but I remember seeing his name and feeling like I had to see him. And he's just got a very solid throw. He's just got a solid game, like a lot of these young players. Yeah, got 49th at Worlds last year. Like, it wasn't just overnight. He cashed at the World Championships in Virginia. Yeah, I'm curious.
He's won 5 A-tiers. And an amateur major, 5 A-tiers and an amateur major in 2024. Most of those in 2025.
Oh yeah, and he won collegiate nationals this year. That's where I saw him throw. I saw highlights of him from that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, Nate, we got Idlewild coming up. Me and you are going to do the show together. I can't wait. You're coming down to Charlotte. We're going to call the show from here. Any final words for the people? Crazy event week of disc golf.
It really was. I do want to run through real quick as our show is finishing up. The Finnish Nationals happened. The Swedish Nationals, Estonian Nationals, and the Danish National Championship, right? So real quick, I didn't watch any of those. I think most of those are going to be post-produced. Finnish Nationals, Daniel Davidson beats Nicholas Antila by 6. I think that's his first Finnish title. Sorry if I got that wrong, Daniel. And then Silva Saarinen beats Evelina Salonen by 4, which can't even believe that Evelina flew back and played Finnish Nationals. Like, her season's been insane. She's been all over the place. Silva beats her by 4. Lehtomäki takes the bronze. Swedish Nationals, we've got Gustav Dahlin beats out the former European champion Dennis Augustin for his Swedish title. And then who wins FPO? Give it to me. You know who it is.
In Sweden?
In Sweden. Yep.
Is it Julia Forsch?
Julia Forsch by 15. By 15 strokes. She wins by more strokes than her age. She's 13 years old. Okay. We're going over to Estonia. And mind you, if you win any of these titles, if you're a Finnish, Swedish, Estonian, Danish national champion, Norwegian, like, you're a baller. You have to beat a deep field of disc golfers. So these, while they're not like on the mainstream disc golf media, they're not being talked about as much. The payouts aren't huge. These titles mean a lot to these people, and they are coveted titles. Like, you cannot just wake up and win one of these titles. Like, you have to be a dedicated golfer. So on to Estonia. Matti Vilman wins by 5. Really tough title to win. How many amazing Estonian disc golfers are there? Notable that Kristen and Silver were not in Estonia for this tournament. Katie Tate wins by 9, plays one of the most complete tournaments she's ever had. Again, no Kristen in the field, but a very impressive win over names like Tuijas Maniste and Kaidi Alsalu, who we just saw go into a playoff with Silva at Turku. And then we got the Danish championships, Hjalte Hinsen. KJ Nybo wins an MP40. So I think he's kind of moved on from the MPO field. Hjalte Hinsen wins by 8, and then Cassandra Wickman by 7 in the FPO field. So huge congratulations to all of those players for taking down those national titles. And then the final thing, Brian, Mahmoud texted us and he said we've got to do the hold my bag picks for Idlewild. I texted him back, not realizing that you had already texted him in a different thread. And he said, hey guys, could you make different picks? By chance, apparently you and I chose the first 3 tiers of Hold My Bag. We chose the exact same. So we both went Gannon Buhr in tier 1, Paul McBeth in tier 2, and Andrew Marweed in tier 3. So he said we're gonna have to flip a coin for Gannon Buhr. So I don't know if you have a coin in your near vicinity.
Nah, take him. Hey, you take Gannon Buhr.
Okay.
You take him. Let me pull up.
Okay,
the
who do
tier
you want
list
in
real
tier
quick.
1? We got Gannon, Barella, Wasaki, Heimberg. That's tier 1.
Oh, give me Barella. Give me AB.
Okay, you're gonna go Barella tier 1. Okay, so tier 2. Do you want to stick with Paul McBeth or because I chose him as well? If you want to stick with him, I'll let you have him.
I got the tier list here. So
Okay.
no, you could take you take Paul. I'll go different. I'll go different on all these. So
Are you sure? You can't you letting me have Gannon?
Ezra Robinson, I think he got second last year. I'm gonna take Barella, Ezra Robinson, and then number 3. Well, Joey Buckets has mentioned he's feeling really burnt out this year. He won, but I
burnt
sure
out.
Yeah,
that's a tough feeling. That's a tough feeling.
Yeah. So let's see. Sully
Tippy.
Oh yeah, done.
All right. Gotta shout out Doss for the Sully Tippy nickname. That's like Doss's specialty, dude. That's Doss's specialty, is just like giving people nicknames. You know what he tried to stick me with? He tried to stick me with Percocet. I was like, dude, you can't call me Percocet. Like all the nicknames, like I'm accepting of, like Percocet is out. Percocet's out. Okay, so you're going with Sullivan Tipton?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sully.
So
Ezra,
who's your tier 4?
4? Who did I pick?
You picked Silas.
Yeah, I picked Silas because he's playing great, and then I picked number 5, Humphreys.
That's cool. That's a good pick. I picked Casey White, tier 4. I think that's a great pick for Idlewild. I didn't see Raven Newsom on here. I kind of would have liked to have thrown Raven Newsom in there. Oh yeah, he is tier 5. Who did I go tier 5 though, real quick? Who did I send? Oh, I chose Emerson Keith. Emerson Keith is coming up from Texas. Got nothing to lose. He's still got it, folks. He's still got it. He's just off the tour. He's back in old DF Dub, grinding out some tournaments down there. How many tournaments has he played this year? He's still played 19 tournaments this year. Got second at Vegas. He's won an A tier. Got second and third at an A tier. Going Emerson Keith. All right, Brian. Good hanging, man.
I'll see you soon. Safe travels,
my
friend. And looking forward to the show this next week at Idlewild, folks. Again, send us an email, abnbpod@gmail.com. We've really enjoyed the emails that we've gotten so far, and we will respond to you or bring up your topic in our next podcast. For Brian Earhart, Dave Perkins, we're signing off. We will see you at the next event. Good peace.